The battlefield was silent, but the silence was not peace. Smoke rose from broken buildings and fire glowed in the distance. Metal scraps and weapons lay scattered across the ground. The war between humans and aliens had destroyed everything around. The air smelled of ash and burned stone. Through this ruined land walked an alien warrior. She was tall, her armor shining with strange blue light. Her steps were slow but strong, and her weapon hummed with energy. Her kind had fought many battles before, and they always won. To her, humans were only fragile creatures, weak and soft, easy to crush. As she moved between the ruins, her sharp eyes noticed something. A figure was crawling across the broken ground. It was a human soldier. His body was covered in dirt and blood. His left arm hung limp, maybe broken. His uniform was torn and his chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Every move seemed painful, but still he tried to push himself up. The alien warrior stopped and laughed, her voice echoing in the empty street. "Fragile little creature," she said. "Is this what humans call strength? You can barely stand." The human looked up at her. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with something strong. He coughed, his voice rough, but his words were clear. "You don't know us." The alien tilted her head, amused. His voice did not sound like a defeated man. It sounded like a challenge. She stepped closer, her shadow falling over him. "You think you can fight me?" she asked, laughing again. "Your bones are weak, your skin tears so easily. I could end you with one strike." The human tried to rise. His legs shook. His hands slipped on the dust and blood, but he forced himself to stand. He swayed like he might fall any second. Still, he lifted his chin and looked straight at her. The alien warrior felt a strange curiosity. Usually she killed wounded humans quickly. They cried, begged, or tried to run, but this one stood with broken ribs and trembling hands, and yet his eyes showed no fear. Instead, they showed defiance. "You think courage can save you?" she mocked. "Courage is useless without strength." The human breathed hard. "Strength is not what you think," he said. The alien raised her weapon. A bright glow filled the air. She could have ended him right there. But something inside her told her to wait. She wanted to see what this weak creature would do. She wanted to understand why he still stood when his body was so close to collapse. So instead of killing him, she lowered her weapon and walked a small circle around him. "Show me," she said. "Show me this human strength you speak of." The soldier's knees buckled, but he locked them straight. His body screamed with pain, yet he stood. Every breath cut like knives in his chest, but his eyes never looked away from hers. The alien felt a flicker of irritation. Why did he not fall? Why did he not accept death like the others? "You are broken," she told him. "You are nothing." But deep inside, a whisper of doubt touched her mind. If he was truly nothing, why did she feel the need to watch? Why did she feel as if something was about to happen? The soldier's lips curved into the smallest of smiles. "We are never nothing," he said softly. The alien laughed again, loud and cruel, trying to push away her unease. She wanted to break his spirit. With one swift move, she shoved him hard. His body hit the ground with a dull sound. Dust rose around him. Surely, now he would stay down. Surely now he would surrender. But slowly, painfully, the soldier pushed himself up once more. His arms shook. His breath was shallow. Blood dripped from a wound on his forehead. Yet he stood again, his body trembling but his eyes burning brighter than before. The alien's laughter stopped. For the first time she looked at him not as prey, not as weak flesh, but as something else, something she could not yet understand. In the ruined city surrounded by silence, one alien warrior and one broken human stood facing each other. One was proud, powerful, and unshaken. The other was wounded, fragile, and close to death. Yet it was the fragile one who carried a weight in his eyes that the alien could not ignore. The air seemed heavier now. The smoke curled slower, as if waiting. The alien warrior whispered to herself, "Strange creature. She did not know it yet, but this human, this fragile soldier, was about to show her something she had never seen before, something that would change how she looked at humans forever. And as the silence stretched between them, the audience of stars above seemed to lean closer, waiting for the truth to unfold. The alien warrior stood tall, her shadow covering the fragile soldier. Her armor glowed faintly under the smoke-filled sky. She had seen many humans before. Some screamed, some begged, and some died quickly. But this one was different. He stood on broken legs, blood running down his face, yet he refused to fall. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His lips were dry, his body broken, but his eyes burned with something she could not name. It was not hate. It was not fear. It was something stronger, something more dangerous. "You can end me," the soldier said, his voice low but steady. "But you will never break me." The alien tilted her head, amused and curious. "Break you? You are already broken. Look at your wounds. Look at your trembling body. You are weak. All humans are weak." The soldier wiped the blood from his mouth with the back of his hand. His hand shook, but the faint smile on his lips stayed. "Weak?" he whispered. "No, you mistake pain for weakness. Pain only proves we are alive." The alien narrowed her eyes. She had never heard a human speak like this. They usually cursed or cried. This one spoke as if he was teaching her something. She felt irritation stir inside her chest. She raised her weapon and struck the ground beside him. The earth cracked and sparks flew. The soldier did not flinch. Dust rose around him, but his eyes never left hers. "You think you are brave," she said. "But bravery cannot stop death." The soldier coughed, his body swaying. For a moment, it looked like he might fall again. But then he straightened his back, forcing his body to obey his will. His voice came sharp even through the blood in his throat. "Then let death come. I will face it standing." The alien blinked. She felt a strange chill, though the air around was burning hot. Why did his words feel heavier than her weapon? Why did this weak human make her feel unsettled? She stepped closer, towering over him. Her voice dropped low, almost a growl. "Why do you resist? What do you gain by this defiance? You will still die." The soldier looked up, his face pale, but his eyes steady. "Because if I stand even for one more moment, then you cannot say humans are weak. Not today. Not here." The alien froze. For a second, she could not answer. She felt as if his words had struck her deeper than any blade. She had fought many enemies in her life. Some were stronger, some were faster, some were smarter. But never had she faced someone who should have been broken, and yet refused to bow. The soldier's body trembled, but he lifted his chin higher, meeting her gaze. His breath rattled in his chest, but his voice grew clearer. "You think strength is muscle. You think it is steel. You think it is armor. You are wrong. True strength is to keep moving even when the body fails. True strength is to stand even when the world wants you on your knees." The alien's jaw tightened. She felt something sharp inside her chest, something she had not felt for years. Was it respect? She wanted to strike him down. She wanted to silence him. Yet at the same time, she wanted to hear more. This strange creature, this fragile human, was beginning to pull at something deep within her. She laughed again, but the sound was softer now. "You talk too much for someone so close to death." The soldier smiled faintly. "Maybe, but every word I speak is a truth you cannot kill." For the first time, the alien warrior felt her confidence waver. She could crush him with one blow, yet she hesitated. She wondered, if I kill him now, will his spirit still stand against me? The battlefield was silent except for the crackling of distant fires. Around them, ruins stood like broken teeth, sharp and cold. Two figures faced each other, one powerful and unshaken, the other fragile and failing. Yet somehow, it was the fragile one who seemed unbreakable. The alien warrior's grip tightened on her weapon. She wanted to end this strange game. but she could not move. She felt as though her own body was waiting to see what this human would do next. The soldier took one shaky step forward. His leg almost gave out, but he caught himself. Another step. His body screamed, but his will pushed harder. He stood before her now, closer than before, his chest rising with effort. "Kill me," he said quietly, "but know this. You will remember me. You will remember that one human refused to bow, and when you face others like me, you will fear us." The alien's heart skipped. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she never admitted: doubt. She looked at the soldier standing before her, his body a ruin but his spirit blazing like fire. And for the first time, she wondered, what if humans are not fragile? What if their true strength is something my people never understood? The alien warrior stood frozen. The human's words still echoed in her mind. "You will remember me." She tightened her grip on her weapon. This fragile creature, bleeding and broken, stood before her as if he could not be crushed. Enough, she thought. This game had gone too far. With a sudden strike, she moved. Her blade of energy flashed across his side. The sound of flesh tearing filled the air. The soldier stumbled, his face twisting in pain. Blood poured from his ribs, dark against the dust. He fell to one knee, breathing hard, his hand pressing against the wound. The alien felt a small thrill of victory. This was how it always ended. Humans bled, humans broke, humans died. But then, something changed. The soldier coughed, his voice ragged. His hand trembled, but slowly, very slowly, he removed it from his side. The alien's eyes widened. The wound was still there, red and deep, yet the flow of blood was slowing. The edges of the flesh began to close as though invisible hands were pulling them together. She stepped back, disbelief filling her chest. "Impossible," she whispered. The soldier gritted his teeth. His body shook as if every nerve was on fire, but his skin was knitting together, sealing the cut. His breath came hard but steadier now. He rose, inch by inch, until he stood again. The alien felt her heart race, a feeling she had almost forgotten: fear. She had seen regeneration before, but never in humans. Her people had studied their biology. They healed slowly, too slowly to matter in war. But this was something else. The soldier looked at her, his eyes dim with pain but glowing with something beyond it. "We fall," he said, voice rough, "but we rise again." The alien's jaw tightened. "What are you?" she demanded. Her voice carried both anger and unease. The soldier did not answer at once. He simply stood there, his chest rising and falling, as the wound on his side became nothing more than a scar. He looked like a man dragged through hell, but a man who refused to stay down. The alien tried to calm herself. Maybe it was technology. Maybe the human wore hidden armor, nanobots, or a secret device. Yes, that must be it. She told herself this was no miracle. Humans could not do this. To prove it, she attacked again. This time her strike was cruel. She aimed for his arm, slicing deep into the flesh. The soldier cried out, his voice raw with pain, and collapsed to the ground. His arm bent at a terrible angle, bone cracked, skin torn. She stepped back, certain this time there would be no rising. But as the soldier gasped on the ground, the same impossible sight returned. His arm twitched. The bone pushed itself back, into place with a sickening sound. The flesh closed, the skin sealed. His fingers flexed slowly as if testing their strength. The alien's eyes went wide. "No?" she whispered. "This cannot be." The soldier rolled onto his knees, then forced himself upright again. His breath was heavy, his body weak, but he stood. He always stood. His eyes lifted, meeting hers again. And in them, she saw no fear. Her hands shook around her weapon. She clenched them tight to hide it. "This is not possible," she said, louder this time. "Your kind is fragile. I have seen thousands of you fall. None of you can do this." The soldier wiped the blood from his lips. His smile was faint, but it carried weight. Then maybe you have never truly seen us. The alien's chest tightened. She wanted to strike again, harder, faster. She wanted to tear him apart and prove her belief true. But deep inside, something told her the result would be the same. No matter how many times she cut him down, he would rise. And that thought frightened her. She studied him closely now. His body was still thin, fragile, human. His muscles were not powerful like her kind's. His skin was soft compared to her armored scales. And yet, when he stood before her, she felt smaller than she ever had. The battlefield around them was quiet. Not even the wind moved. It was as if the world itself was watching. The soldier's voice came again, steady and calm. We are not strong because we do not break. We are strong because even when we break, we find a way to stand again. The alien's hand trembled. She lowered her weapon slightly without meaning to. For the first time in all her battles, she did not know what to do. She had faced creatures stronger than herself and never feared them. But this human, this fragile being who refused to stay down, was different. The soldier took one step closer. His body carried fresh scars. His face, pale, but his presence grew heavier with every breath. You thought we were fragile, he said, his words slow and heavy. But maybe it is you who does not understand strength. The alien warrior could not reply. Her throat felt tight. Her eyes stayed locked on him, waiting, fearing what he would do next. And as the soldier stood there, scarred but unbroken, the alien felt the first crack in her own certainty. For the first time, she wondered if her people were wrong. For the first time, she wondered if humans were far more dangerous than anyone had believed. The alien warrior's hands trembled, though she tried to hide it. Her people never feared humans. They were weaker, slower, softer. But now, as she stared at the soldier standing before her, scarred, bloodied, yet alive, something inside her twisted. He should have been dead twice already. Her blade had cut deep, breaking bone and tearing flesh. And still, he rose again, healing as if the wounds had only been shadows. She tried to tell herself it was some trick, some hidden technology. But her heart whispered a different truth. This was no trick. This was real. The soldier stood quietly, his chest rising with steady breaths. His eyes never left hers. They were not the eyes of prey. They were not the eyes of a dying man. They were the eyes of someone who had already accepted pain, already accepted death, and refused to bow to either. The alien's throat felt dry. She raised her weapon once more, but her movements were slower this time. A doubt had taken root in her. What if I cannot break him? She swung hard, her blade glowing. It struck the soldier across the chest, knocking him back into the rubble. Dust exploded into the air. His body hit the ground with a heavy sound, and silence followed. The alien breathed deeply, her chest heaving. She told herself it was over. This time he could not rise. No creature could. But then the dust began to clear. A cough echoed from the rubble. A figure stirred. Slowly, painfully, the soldier pushed aside the broken stones and stood again. His chest was marked with a fresh scar, the wound already closing, knitting itself together in front of her eyes. The alien staggered one step backward, her weapon lowered without her command. "No," she whispered. Her voice shook. "This is unnatural." The soldier wiped the dust from his face. His movements were slow but calm. He did not charge at her. He did not even raise a weapon. He only looked at her with quiet strength, as if her strikes no longer mattered. For the first time in her life, the alien warrior felt small. She tried to roar, to remind herself of her power. "You are not immortal," she shouted. "You are flesh and blood. I will cut you again and again until nothing is left." But her words sounded hollow, even to her own ears. The soldier tilted his head slightly, almost as if pity touched his eyes. "Do what you must," he said softly. "I will rise, again and again, until you understand." The alien's grip faltered. Her weapon felt heavier than ever before. She had fought monsters with claws like swords and armor thicker than steel. Yet none of them had unsettled her like this fragile man. Why? Why did this human frighten her more than all her past battles? Because he refused to stay down. Because he showed her something her people had never understood. Strength was not in armor, not in weapons, not in unbroken flesh. Strength was in the will to rise no matter how many times one fell. She clenched her teeth. Fear was an enemy she could not allow. Her kind were taught from birth. Fear is weakness. Fear is death. But no matter how many times she repeated it in her head, her hands still trembled. The soldier stepped closer, his footsteps slow but steady. Each step echoed louder than thunder in her ears. The alien lifted her weapon, pointing it at his chest. "Stay back!" she barked. The words slipped out too quickly, too sharp. They were not the words of a proud warrior. They were the words of someone afraid. The soldier stopped. He looked at the weapon, then back into her eyes. And then, without a word, he took another step forward. Her heart raced. Her body tensed. She wanted to strike, but she couldn't. She could not stop staring at him, at the calm, steady fire in his gaze. "You think I fear death," the soldier said. His voice was low, but it carried across the ruins. "But it is not death we fear. It is surrender. And I will never surrender." The alien swallowed hard. Her armor felt too tight, as though it was crushing her. The air around her seemed thin. This human's words, his presence, pressed on her more heavily than any weapon. She finally realized the truth. This was not just one man. He was the mirror of his entire species. If one human could do this, rise from wounds again and again, what would happen when thousands stood the same way? Millions? For the first time, the alien warrior saw not just a fragile creature but a dangerous truth. Maybe it was not humans who were fragile. Maybe it was her own people, blind in their pride. The soldier stood a few feet away now, his scars glowing, faintly in the dim light. His voice came once more, soft but unshakable. "We are fragile, yes, but in our fragility lies something you cannot destroy. We break. But every time we break, we learn. Every time we fall, we rise stronger." The alien felt her knees weaken. She wanted to deny it, she wanted to shout. But deep inside, she knew the truth of his words. And with that truth came a chilling realization. For the first time in all her battles, the alien warrior did not wonder how she would win. She wondered if she could win at all. The ruins around them stood silent, as if the world itself was listening. Smoke drifted lazily through the broken streets. Fire glowed far in the distance. And in that silence, two figures faced one another. The alien warrior, proud but shaken, and the human soldier, fragile in body but unbroken in spirit. The alien's grip on her weapon tightened. She wanted to speak, to command, to remind herself she was the stronger one. But no words came. The human's eyes held her still. His body carried wounds and scars, yet he stood tall, as if no pain could truly hold him. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, not loud, but each word carried weight. "You think strength is the body. You think it is armor, muscle, bone. That is why you laugh at us. That is why you think we are weak. But you do not understand." The alien frowned, her voice sharp. "Then explain, human. Show me what it is I do not see." The soldier took a slow breath, his chest rising and falling. His words came steady, though his body still trembled from pain. "Humans are fragile, yes. Our skin tears. Our bones break. Our bodies bleed. But that is not our weakness, that is our teacher." The alien blinked, uncertain. "Teacher?" He nodded. "Every wound teaches us how to endure. Every scar teaches us how to survive. Every loss teaches us how to rise again. Pain is not the end of us. Pain is the beginning of our strength." The alien shifted uneasily. His words struck her deeper than any blade. The soldier stepped closer, each movement slow but deliberate. "You have lived with power since birth. You were given strength, armor, weapons. You never had to learn what it means to stand while broken. But he pointed to his own scarred chest. We are forced to learn it every day. She tightened her jaw. That does not make you strong. It makes you desperate. The soldier's faint smile returned. And desperation creates something you cannot understand. Hope, will, the fire to fight even when the body begs us to stop. His words settled into the air like heavy stones. The alien found herself stepping back without realizing it. Her weapon lowered slightly. Her mind, trained for war, struggled to grasp the idea. The human continued, his voice growing firmer. You thought we were fragile because you saw us bleed. But you never watched us heal. You thought we were weak because you saw us fall. But you never stayed long enough to see us rise again. That is your mistake. The alien's throat felt dry. She remembered past battles, cities burned, humans slaughtered, bodies lying across the ground. She remembered the laughter of her people as they called humans soft and weak. But now, with this one man standing before her, she wondered, had they misunderstood everything? The soldier's voice lowered, almost a whisper, but sharper than steel. Strength is not never falling. Strength is rising every time we do. The alien's heart pounded in her chest. She hated the feeling, this heat of doubt, this strange respect she could not push away. She barked louder than she intended. You think one soldier proves your kind strong? The soldier shook his head slowly. No, I am only a mirror. What you see in me exists in all of us. Some heal in flesh, some in spirit. But every human, no matter how broken, carries the same fire. The alien's mind swirled. She wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep inside, she remembered moments she had ignored. Humans who fought long after they should have fallen. Humans who endured when no other species could. She had dismissed them as foolish. But what if it was not foolishness? What if it was something greater? The soldier's eyes narrowed, locking onto hers. You laughed at us, you called us fragile. But tell me, if a people can suffer endlessly and still stand, are they fragile? Or are they the strongest of all? The alien's lips parted, but no answer came. For the first time, she could not find her pride. She could not find her laughter. All she found was silence. The soldier's expression softened, but his voice carried finality. We survive because we must. We endure because we choose to. And when the universe itself turns against us, we adapt. That is why you should fear us. Not our bodies, not our weapons, but our will. The alien lowered her weapon, her hand shaking. She felt as though the ground beneath her feet had shifted. Her people had built their pride on the idea that humans were weak. Yet here stood one who had turned weakness into something unbreakable. The silence stretched between them. The alien warrior stared at the human, and for the first time, she did not see prey. She did not see fragility. She saw something she could not destroy. The soldier straightened, his voice quiet but clear. You will remember this, and when you face others like me, you will understand. We do not fear the fall. We only fear surrender, and surrender will never come. The alien's chest rose with a sharp breath. For the first time in her long life, she felt her pride crack. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps her people had always been wrong, and with that thought came something she had never expected. Fear, not of death, but of what humans truly were. The alien warrior stood motionless. Her weapon hung loosely at her side, its glow dimming. She could still hear the human's words ringing inside her mind. We do not fear the fall. We only fear surrender, and surrender will never come. She had fought countless battles. She had crushed enemies who were stronger than humans, faster than humans, smarter than humans. Yet none of them had left her trembling like this one fragile soldier. Why? She looked at him again. His body was scarred and weary, his breaths uneven. Any other warrior of her kind would call him broken. But in that brokenness he carried a weight she could not match. His spirit stood taller than her armor ever could. The alien's heart raced, though she hated to admit it. She had been taught, since childhood, that fear was weakness, that humans were fragile, that victory over them was certain. But now, with every word this soldier spoke, those beliefs cracked like shattered glass. The soldier took a slow step forward. His wounds were healing even as he moved, faint scars replacing torn flesh. His eyes, calm and sharp, locked onto hers. "You are proud," he said quietly. "Your kind sees yourselves as unbreakable. But pride can blind. It blinds you to the truth standing in front of you." The alien clenched her teeth. His words cut deeper than any weapon. She remembered the laughter of her commanders, the way they spoke of humans as weak animals. Yet now, that laughter sounded hollow in her mind. "Enough," she muttered, though her voice lacked its usual strength. But the soldier did not stop. His tone grew steadier, his presence heavier with each word. "You saw me fall. You saw me bleed. But here I stand. And if I can rise, others can too. My people are not like yours. We are not born strong. We are made strong. Every scar, every loss, every failure builds us. That is our gift." The alien swallowed hard. She hated the way her chest tightened with unease. She hated that she could not dismiss his words. Her eyes flicked to the ruins around them. Broken walls, shattered towers, streets littered with ash. Her people had caused this destruction. They had believed it proved superiority. But now, as she looked again, she wondered if these ruins told a different story. A story of survivors. A story of humans who always rose again. The soldier's voice softened, but it pressed harder on her heart. "You think your strength will always crush us, but strength fades, muscles tire, armor cracks, even stars die, yet the will to endure, that lives forever. That is why we survive." The alien felt her grip weaken. She lowered her weapon fully now, its hum fading to silence. She could not bring herself to raise it again. Something inside her shifted, something she could not stop. For the first time she looked at the human not with mockery, not even with hatred, but with respect. A respect that unsettled her more than fear. Her voice came low, almost hesitant. "Perhaps I have been wrong about your kind." The soldier did not smile. He only held her gaze, steady and unshaken. "Not wrong," he said softly. "Just blind." The alien's chest tightened again. Blind. Yes, that was the word. Her people had blinded themselves with arrogance. They had called humans fragile because it was easier than admitting the truth. Humans carried a kind of strength they could not match. Her thoughts raced. If one human could rise again and again, what would happen if entire armies carried the same will? If thousands stood together, refusing to surrender, what then? For the first time she saw the future not as certain victory, but as dangerous possibility. She whispered, almost to herself, "Maybe it is we who are fragile." The soldier tilted his head, but said nothing. His silence was louder than any words. The alien's pride cracked further. She remembered her first laughter when she saw him crawling, broken and bleeding. Now that laughter felt like shame. She remembered mocking his fragility. Now she saw that fragility was only the shell, hiding a fire within. Her people had called humans soft. But perhaps softness was not weakness. Perhaps it was the soil from which resilience grew. The soldier's presence seemed to fill the entire battlefield. He did not move with power, yet his very existence pressed down on her. He had become something she could not define, something beyond strength, beyond survival. The alien warrior bowed her head slightly, not in defeat, but in recognition. "Your kind," she said slowly, "is not what we believed." The soldier finally spoke again, his voice quiet but sharp as a blade. "Belief does not change truth, and the truth is simple. We endure. That is who we are." Silence stretched between them. The alien warrior stood with her weapon lowered, her pride broken, her certainty shattered. And in that silence she felt The first spark of something she had never felt for humans before. Respect. The turning point had come. She no longer laughed at human fragility. She no longer saw them as prey. Instead, she saw the truth she had tried to deny. Humans were not fragile, they were fire, and fire, no matter how many times it was smothered, always found a way to burn again. The alien warrior stood in silence, her weapon lowered, her breath uneven. All around them, the ruins whispered of war. The fires burned faintly in the distance, smoke curling into the black sky. But inside her, a deeper fire now burned, one she could not control. She had come here certain of victory. She had come here believing humans were fragile creatures easy to crush. Yet now before her stood a man who had proven her wrong. Scarred, broken, bleeding, and still unbroken. Still standing. Her mind spun with questions. If this one soldier could rise again and again, what did it mean for the rest of his kind? Was he alone in this gift? Or was he only the mirror of something greater, something all humans carried within? The soldier looked at her, his body marked with scars that spoke louder than words. His chest rose with steady breaths, and his eyes shone with a quiet, unshakable fire. He did not move to attack her. He did not raise a weapon. He simply stood, and that standing itself was a victory. For a long moment, neither spoke. The alien warrior felt the weight of her people's arrogance, pressing down on her. She remembered the laughter of her commanders, the certainty of her people that humans were weak. Now that laughter felt like lies. Finally, the soldier broke the silence. His voice was calm, but it carried across the ruins like thunder. You see me? But you must understand I am not alone. I am only one of many. The alien narrowed her eyes, unsettled. What do you mean? The soldier's gaze hardened. We are not strong because of one man. We are strong because of all of us. We endure together, and when one rises, others rise too. As if answering his words, a sound stirred in the distance. The alien's sharp ears caught it first. Movement among the rubble. She turned her head sharply, scanning the ruins. At first she thought it was the wind shifting the stones. But then from the broken ground, shapes began to move. Humans. They rose from the dust, one by one. Soldiers who had fallen earlier, their bodies torn and bloodied, now pushed themselves back onto their feet. Some staggered, some leaned on shattered walls, but all of them stood. Their wounds glowed faintly, closing with the same impossible regeneration. The alien's heart skipped. Her hands grew cold around her weapon. There were dozens of them, men and women scarred and battered, their faces pale with exhaustion but their eyes alive with fire. The soldier at her side did not look away from her. He spoke softly, but his words carried the weight of every figure, now standing behind him. You thought I was fragile. You thought I was alone. But look around you. The alien's breath quickened. She turned slowly, watching as more humans pulled themselves from the rubble, rising from places where she was certain bodies had fallen. The ruins were no longer silent. They echoed with footsteps, with the sound of survival. The soldier's voice deepened. This is what you never understood. We do not fall alone. We do not rise alone. When one of us refuses to surrender, it becomes a spark. And that spark becomes a fire. The alien stepped back without realizing it. Fear spread through her veins. For the first time in her long warrior life, she felt surrounded. Not by numbers, but by will, by something stronger than any weapon she had ever seen. The humans stood together now, a line of scarred figures against the broken city. Their bodies bore marks of pain, but their stance carried only defiance. Not one of them bowed their head. Not one of them looked afraid. The soldier turned slightly, his eyes scanning his people. Then he faced her once more. You call us fragile. But if we are fragile, then remember this. Fragile things should break. And yet here we stand. Every time you try to break us, we only grow sharper. The alien's throat felt tight. She wanted to deny his words. She wanted to laugh again, to mock him, to remind herself she was stronger. But no sound left her lips, because deep inside, she knew it was true. The humans were not unscarred. They were not unbroken. But their scars were not weakness, they were proof. Proof that no matter how many times they were struck down, they would rise again. The alien warrior lowered her eyes for just a moment. Her pride cracked fully now, falling like shattered stone. She whispered to herself, almost in disbelief, "Maybe it is we who are fragile." The soldier's eyes burned like embers in the dark. "Yes," he said, "because your strength is only in your body. Ours lives in our will, and will cannot be broken." Silence fell once more, heavy and endless. But this silence was different. It was not the silence of ruins nor of defeat. It was the silence before something greater, the silence before the storm. The alien raised her head slowly, staring at the line of humans standing across the battlefield. For the first time, she wondered if her people's war had already been lost, not to weapons, not to armies, but to something invisible, something unyielding. And as the smoke curled into the sky, the alien knew one truth. This war was far from over. The camera of the universe pulled back, showing the battlefield not as a graveyard, but as a beginning. A place where fragile creatures had proven unbreakable. And in that moment, under the cold stars, the future of the galaxy trembled.